Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you all are doing well. Today I'm going to show you how to create this scene with a smoke simulation and color changing particles along with a force field to influence the smoke and particles. Before we jump in, consider subscribing and leaving this video a like. It helps me keep the videos flowing. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to begin by going under the render properties and switching from Eevee to cycles and CPU to GPU compute. I'm also going to change my viewport max samples down to 3, and I'm going to click on denoise, and I'm going to change the render to 300 on the max samples. And then I'm going to start by deleting the default cube and adding a plane. I'm going to come up here to the object panel and scroll down to quick effects and add quick smoke. And I'm going to adjust the position of this domain cube to where it's just a little bit below the plane that emits the smoke right here. I'm going to tab into edit mode right here, press 3 to select faces. I'm going to drag this top face upward on the z-axis to give it a little bit more height. I'm going to select the plane and I'm going to pop over into the physics properties and scroll down to the flow source and change surface emission to 10. And I'm going to pop in to this cube right here. I'm going to select the cube and I'm going to scroll down to the time scale and increase it from 1 to 3.5. And now at this point, I'm going to now add a force field and I'm going to select vortex. I'm going to rotate it on the z-axis, RZ, 90 degrees. And I'm going to scale it up just a little bit to where the edges of the vortex just go a little bit past the plane right here. Let's play the simulation. It influences it nicely and subtly. So let's now add a UV sphere right here. We're going to scale it down quite a bit to, I would say, 0.35. Now we're going to bring that up on the z-axis about just a little bit above halfway into the domain right here. Let's scale it down just a little bit more. And now I'm going to move it on the x-axis just a little bit back. Now right here I'm going to drag the camera and I'm going to bring it in this view so that it is facing our simulation just a little bit. So that way we are at least now able to see everything from the camera view when we need to. Now I'm going to add a particle system right here. Click the plus sign up here. I'm going to change the number to 500 and the lifetime to 75. Changing the number to 500 will just decrease the amount of particles in the scene, and the lifetime is basically going to make them last longer by increasing that value. Now I'm going to scroll down to physics, and I'm going to make sure that the mass is changed from 1 to 0.05. And I'm going to now add another UV sphere to the scene. I'm going to scale it down. And while I'm here, I'm going to change the name of this sphere to particle. Oh, I had caps lock on. That looks really bad. Boom. And I'm going to change our first UV sphere to emitter. So I'm going to move particle way up and off to the side right here for now. I'm going to select emitter and I'm going to scroll down to render and change it from halo to object, and I'm going to use this dropper to select the particle sphere. Now I'm also going to disable the show emitter under the render and under the viewport, and it's going to make the emitter sphere disappear for right now. Don't worry about that, it's totally fine. So I'm just going to now play the timeline, and we can see that the particles are reacting to the vortex. They're, swirling around in a nice, graceful manner, and they die out in the lifetime nicely. So We want them now to glow and change color. Now, the way we do that is we select our particle sphere and we go under shading right here and we click new material to add a new material, and we delete the principal shader and we add an emission shader. And we connect that to the material output, and we want to add a color ramp, so that way we have several different colors going on in the scene. And we want to change this black. We're going to just bring the slider all the way to the top, and we're going to select a really bright blue, and we're going to change this white to a really bright green, and we're going to add 2 new colors. We're going to space them out about evenly, and we're going to change this one to a bright red, make it as bright as possible. And this one I kind of like, but I'm still going to change it to like I think I'm kind of indecisive. I think I'll stay with this one. Yeah, that's nice. Those colors are nice. So now I'm going to add an object info node, and I'm going to plug the random into the factor. Now, if I back up into layout mode, and I go under rendered view, and I play the simulation, we can see that we have a bunch of different colored particles. And that's good, but we want them to change color as the simulation goes on. So what we're going to do here is going to bring this out to here, and we want to bring in a hue saturation value node right here, and we want to connect it to the color ramp and connect the hue saturation value to the emission. And now we're going to add a math node, and we're going to connect the value to the hue. Now, what this does, you'll see if I get close to that particle UV sphere, if I change this value, it's going to start changing color. But we don't want to keyframe that. What we want to do is we want to select this value. We just want to click it, and we want to hold shift and press 3 for a hashtag, and we're going to type frame/10. Now, if I just press the space bar, we'll see that it changes colors on its own. It's just changing between all of the colors in the color ramp on its own. And that's exactly what we want. Now, from here, we want to now increase the strength of our emission to about 200. Now, if I start playing the simulation, it's not going to really seem like much is going on. That's because these, when it's emitting so much light, you won't see those values like from this particular perspective, from this view mode, exactly the way you normally would. Now, what we want to do here is we're going to now go into rendered view mode. We're going to back it up, and we can see that the colors are reacting to the smoke. Everything's working out nicely. It's working out well. So we're going to now delete the default light that the scene came with, and we're going to add a cube. And we're going to tab out of rendered view mode back into solid. We're going to tab into edit mode, and we're going to make some changes. We're going to bring this top face up higher than the smoke domain, and we're just going to press A to select everything, and we're going to press SY. We want this to be really wide, but we don't want to have the UV sphere, the particle sphere, within the cube. So now I'm going to scale it on the x-axis. So the camera is now within the actual cube itself. Now I'm going to press 0. And yes, we're inside the cube. I'm going to now just make it, I think, just a little bit bigger on the y-axis and move this out of the scene a little bit more. That already looks a little bit better. Now, what we want to do is we want to delete this top face. And we're going to raise all of these edges up just a little bit higher. Yeah, that's good. And now we're going to make a shader, we're going to add a shader to this particular mesh, and we're going to make it metallic and bring the roughness down to 0.15. Nice. Very nice. Okay. And now what we're going to do here is we're going to now add a spotlight. That's really important because it's going to give enough of we need more light to define the smoke within the scene, because we don't want the particles to be the primary source of lighting. Otherwise, it's just not going to provide enough contrast against against a really dark background. So I'm going to raise the spotlight up quite a bit, and I really want to crank its power up really high. I'm going to crank it to 5,000, which I know sounds really high. It kind of is, but it works well with this particular scene right here. And I'm going to change the radius to 7.5, and that's going to smooth it out just a little bit. Now if we go into the camera view mode, and let's adjust the camera to about, let's go 40 millimeters. Yeah, that looks better. And we'll just now play through it and see how everything looks with our quick view mode. Oh, accidental right there. All right, samples are looking good. Samples are looking good. So let's change the position of the camera. We need to move it back just a little bit more. GX. And we're going to scale the cube on the x-axis just to give it a little bit more room. Now, what we want to do now is we sort of want to add a arcing shot to this particular scene. We want the camera to flow around these particles as they're happening, to just, you know, follow everything. And we don't want to do that manually. So what we're going to do is we're going to Shift A, and we're going to add a circle Bezier curve, and we're going to press GZ to raise it up, and we're going to scale it to where it's pretty big. We're going to scale it to about there, to where it's nearly, you know, I would say like a little bit in front of the camera itself. And what we're going to do here is we're going to click on the camera, and we need to add a constraint, a follow path. And we're going to, under the target right here, we're going to select our Bezier curve. And we have to make some changes. So we need the forward axis to be Z, and we're going to change the up axis to Y. Now, it's going to put our camera like way out here, and you can see it just starts making everything really weird. So we have to move the camera manually back into place, which is not ideal, but you press GX, and it's really sensitive. And you just get it right to where it's almost vertical, and GZ, press period on the numpad to zoom in. And you just try to get it right there, as close as you can, until it's just right on point to where you want. Now we can now change the offset. Still not focusing exactly what I want. We got to follow the curve. Click follow curve right here, and now we can see that it's actually following everything. I can see that it has definitely changed our orientation. So you just 90, just like that. And now if we move the offset, we can see that we are circling around the particle animation. So now what we can do is just go back to the timeline, and we can type 0 on the offset, and we can press I while hovering over the offset right here, and we can scroll to 250, and I think I'm just going to keep it pretty simple and maybe do 50 for that. See how that treats us. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So, yeah. Yeah, I'll triple check it. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just do a little bit of tweaking in the compositing node. So what I want to do is just render image, but I'm going to change this now to just a quick 5, so it renders out really quickly. Yeah, really fast. I don't want it, I'm just gonna use this, so now I can just pop into the compositing tab, click use nodes, and I'm going to go into view, and I'm going to change the zoom to about 0.44 and offset the top value off to the side right here, and I'm going to add 3 nodes. I'm going to add 3 glare nodes, but with different settings. So that way they do different things and they have just a different effect on the particles in general. So what first we're going to do is we're just going to add a glare node right here, and we're going to just keep that we're going to change medium to high, and now we're going to change this one. We're going to do fog glow, which is still part of the glare node right there, and we're going to add this in front of the glare node right there, and we're going to change that also to high, and then finally we're going to add a streaks node, which is also under the glare. We're going to do that right here. We're going to change that to high, and we're going to change all of these values. We're going to turn these values down. We're going to just turn them to about, I'm thinking, let's try 0.05 for each of them. I think that'll be nice, and you don't want to go, I mean, you can go crazy, but I think this will work out a little bit better. I think I might even increase this one to 0.15. Yeah, a little bit higher, just a little bit higher. And I think you might go up to 0.15. Yeah, just a little bit. It depends on, you make judgment calls like in the moment to what you think is best. So, yeah, now let's just see. Yep, everything is playing nicely. Everything is playing nicely. Let's get a quick rendered view of this. Yeah. All right, cool. And there it is. Let's render this out completely. Let's select the domain right here. We'll come right down here. And I'm going to increase my resolution. Now I'm ready to increase my resolution. I think I'm going to go with 96, which is definitely going to increase it quite a bit. Yeah, definitely higher quality. So I'm just going to come down here, and I'm going to change from replay to all, and I'm going to bake from 1 to 250. And it's going to take a minute. All right, that has finished. Let's take a quick look in the timeline. Yeah, the smoke quality looks definitely good, just even in the solid view mode. So, all right, cool. I'm going to render this out, and we're going to see what the final animation looks like here. Alright, so after a quick render, I made a few changes. I selected our cube that surrounds our scene, and I changed the roughness to 0.08, and I went up to the base color, and I dragged the slider down right here to about halfway, and I increased the render max samples to 1000 per frame, and it definitely made a nice difference in the final render, the quality, just those little details really tied everything together. So yeah, I just made some quick changes right there, and yeah, I think I like the way it turned out. So yeah, if you learned something, leave a comment below, and if you had a good time watching the video, consider leaving a like and a subscribe, and yeah, create something awesome out there today. Have a good one. Take it easy.